Here's an RCA boombox which got them sued for over $25 million. Not this exact one, but similar models from the mid to late 1990s were the subject of a lawsuit against Thomson Consumer Electronics, which is the company who owns RCA, which they took to trial and lost. First, let's examine the defendant. Its official title is Digital Compact Disc Stereo Cassette Recorder Radio Receiver, better known as a boombox. It has a pair of 4-inch speakers, bass ports, and what may look like tweeters, but are actually just decorations. Perhaps to compensate for the fake tweeters, which, by the way, were not the subject of the lawsuit, in addition to the normally expected bass boost button, it also has a treble boost button. The AM/FM radio tuner is entirely conventional, with an analog tuning dial and FM stereo, and it has excellent FM reception.
Made of 100,000.
Advocates say the practice empowers patients.
And it sounds pretty good on AM, too.
Particular circumstances, past performance does not guarantee.
It's one of yours, and it took.
Found their children had a 25% higher risk to be.
Also on top is a digital portable compact disc player with 21-track programmable memory, 16-bit DA, 3-beam laser, push open. Don't mind if I do. The CD player controls are on the front. You get shuffle play, and when you push play, it displays this animation. I doubt it's actually taking that long to calculate the order of the tracks. It's just doing that to be fancy. But there it goes. Like any other CD player, you can pause and resume playback and skip tracks. One thing I noticed is that there's no ability to fast forward or fast reverse within a track. Like on most CD players, if you hold down the button, it'll do that. But on this one, it just immediately skips to the next track. But otherwise it works fine and sounds pretty good. Not super high fidelity sound, but entirely sufficient for its purpose. And an unexpected bonus is that on the back, on the door of the compartment that holds 6 D batteries and has disintegrating foam, it has this compact disc compartment which can be used to store the jewel case of 1 CD. And finally, the cassette recorder on the front, which doesn't have anything fancy like Dolby noise reduction or support for chrome and metal tapes, but since the controls are on the bottom, the arrows actually point in the correct direction. It also has CD to tape dubbing, auto stop, soft eject, and auto record level. And it sounds pretty good, and it works fine on its original belts. I did not have to do any repairs to it. And it actually has full auto stop, so when it's rewinding or fast forwarding and reaches the end of the tape, it will automatically stop. There is no built-in microphone or line input, but the cassette deck can record from the radio or a CD player. Unfortunately, the quality of the recordings it makes leaves a lot to be desired. They're weak, shrill, awash in noise, and that auto record level tends to get caught off guard. To demonstrate that, I'll give you a direct hookup sample of a recording I made from FM radio, AM radio, and CD, so you can hear what that sounds like.
6.
Twins News Time 8:41. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Kelly Dillon.
Today, tomorrow, Good Luck Alert Days. Mass transit, of course, the way to go, and it's gridlock in Midtown because of the Rockefeller Center tree lighting right now.
Classic soft rock. It's always here on softrockradio.net.
The poor recording quality also wasn't necessarily the subject of that lawsuit, but we are getting warmer when we open the soft eject door and peer into the cassette recorder. It has a permanent magnet erase head, which is partially responsible for the weak, noisy recordings it makes, as well as the fact that I think it's using DC bias recording. And you may see this and say, hey, I recognize that. That's a Tanishin mechanism. Well, not necessarily. As this article explains, although Thomson Consumer Electronics, the company who makes products for RCA and GE, was a Tanishin customer until the mid-1990s, they switched over to purchase cheap knockoffs of Tanishin's cassette drive mechanisms from other Asian companies. That's what led Tanishin, which was the world's largest manufacturer of cassette drive mechanisms, to sue Thomson to protect 5 of its U.S. patents covering the design and components of the mechanism. They also sued or threatened suit against several other mostly American and Japanese companies, but Thomson was the lone company that refused to settle. The case went to trial in 2001, and an Indianapolis jury awarded $10.6 million to Tanishin because of Thomson Consumer Electronics using pirated components in more than 135 models of cassette tape players sold under popular brands such as GE and RCA. And one of their patent attorneys said that Tanishin is going to ask for an injunction to prevent any further importation or selling of infringing products. They said the store shelves are full of these products. Tanishin intends to go directly to vendors such as Kmart, Walmart, Target, and Radio Shack to have infringing products removed from the shelves. And then in early 2002, U.S. District Judge Richard L. Young issued a final judgment increasing Tanishin's award to $21.3 million plus $4.3 million in interest covering the period when the infringement occurred. Tanishin filed a motion to triple the damages, but Young stopped short of that request and doubled the amount. He said Thomson's actions were willful both prior to and at the inception of litigation in 1998. The judge also ordered Thomson to stop buying, selling, or making items with a tape drive mechanism patented by Tanishin. Thomson did say they were going to appeal the decision, but I can't find any reference to how that turned out, if that ever actually happened. Now the thing I'm curious about is, what kind of cassette mechanism does this RCA boombox use? Because according to the lawsuit, they switched over to the cheaper knockoff mechanisms in the mid-1990s. And according to the sticker on the bottom, this RCA model RP7944A, with the A stamped in as if it was a later revision, was manufactured in October 1993, which I think qualifies as the mid-1990s. Okay, that came apart quite easily. The speakers are 8 ohms, maximum 5 watts, and there you can see those fake tweeters, which are just an open hole. It says HIPS Cavity 1 right above them, so maybe that's the official name for what these are. The amplifier chip is a Samsung KA2206, which is rated at 2.3 watts per channel. Actually, in this case, it's only putting out 1.3 watts per channel because it's driving 8 ohm speakers. And I noticed right below that on the board it says for RCA/GE version only. So I wonder how many other versions of this they made. And on the other side is the radio tuner with the tuning capacitor, the ferrite bar antenna for AM, and the tuning dial is just a strip of plastic slathered in grease with some gears to move it as you move the dial. The larger chip is an Atmel U2510B integrated AM/FM radio tuner, and the smaller chip is a Samsung KA2261 FM stereo decoder. And of course in the middle is some circuitry for the CD player, but the main point of our interest is below it, the cassette deck mechanism. The only discernible marking on the front of it is here where it says Y-9A. So I'll need to pull this out to see what's on the back to learn more about it and try to find out if it's an original Tanishin mechanism or a knockoff. The good thing is it does have a genuine Mabuchi motor. It has their name stamped into the casing and their sticker on it. There's a better look at the Mabuchi sticker. It's a 9-volt counterclockwise motor. And it does have a metal flywheel, but I can't find any sticker or stamping on the mechanism itself to indicate it was made by Tanishin. So I do believe this is one of those unauthorized knockoff mechanisms that got them sued, which is interesting because a couple years ago I made a video about an RCA stereo system that was made in December 1994, and that one did have a genuine Tanishin mechanism in it, as indicated by a sticker and stamping on it. So I guess the boomboxes made for RCA and GE by Thompson Consumer Electronics switched over to these knockoff mechanisms before the stereo systems they made did. And looking at the circuitry for the cassette recorder, I do not see any AC bias oscillator coil. So yes, just as I suspected, this is a DC bias recorder. The wow and flutter is pretty typical for one of these mechanisms. It's around 0.15% and the speed is pretty accurate. It's within 0.5% of being correct, which is close enough that you wouldn't notice the difference. And here is the patent in question, number 316097, filed in March 1987 by Shinsaku Tanaka, who is the person that Tanishin was named after. Or I suppose in Japanese that would be pronounced something like Tanashin. And there's the drawing of it, which almost exactly matches the knockoff version we saw in the RCA boombox. There's the opposite side, including the motor and flywheel, again virtually identical to what we saw. The patent was in effect from when it was granted in April 1991 until when it expired in 2005. And while I'm at it, here's a GE boombox, another Thompson Consumer Electronics product from April 1992. So let's see what kind of cassette mechanism it has. From the front, I already noticed one difference. It's this white piece which was not present in the other mechanism. I believe this is part of the auto stop system. Yes, when I stop the take-up spindle from rotating, that's what kicks it off. And there's the back of it. There's no Tanishin sticker on it, but it does have a couple of stampings on it, and there are enough subtle differences in the overall design that it was clearly not from the same supplier as the one in that other boombox. And just like the other one, it has a genuine Mabuchi motor and a metal flywheel. And yeah, that belt is definitely getting rather loose, so I'll replace it while I'm in here. This is a larger boombox than the first one, so it has a more powerful amplifier chip mounted to a heatsink. It's a Toshiba TA8207, which is rated at 4.6 watts per channel. The speakers are 4-inch, 4-ohm, 5-watt speakers made by Samsung, and in this case what may look like bass ports or fake tweeters are blocked off, so this one doesn't have any bass ports. I know from experience this one makes much higher quality cassette recordings than the first one, and that's because it is an AC bias recorder instead of DC bias. Indeed, right there is the AC bias oscillator coil. And the GE also does have equalization for chrome and metal tape playback. And one other difference of note is that instead of having separate radio tuner and FM stereo decoder chips, it has everything integrated into a Samsung KA2292 chip, which is a combined AM/FM radio tuner and FM stereo decoder, all in one package. New belt has been installed. Much better. This one is a bit worse. The wow and flutter is around 0.2%, and the speed is around 0.6% fast, although that belt I put on is not an exact fit replacement. It's just the closest one I could find in my bag of belts.
Audio Renaissance presents A Risk Worth Taking by Robin Pilcher.
So that's the story of how these RCA and GE boomboxes and stereo systems in the 1990s ended up costing Thomson Consumer Electronics over $25 million when they were found guilty of violating Tanishin's patents by using cheap knockoffs of Tanishin's cassette mechanism design, which was definitely not a risk worth taking. I scoured the thrift stores trying to find an actual gavel or scales of justice to use as a prop in this video, but came up short, so this will have to do.